was trying to give us some of those very practical steps, and in the course of that, he made mention of 7 spheres of influence, and he was trying to reel out some of those. So he's going to run it again by us so that we can just be informed and, of course, educated about what we need to know in that regard.
Okay. So the 7 spheres of influence, because I was trying to explain that.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why we're talking about this is because family is the foundation of these 7 spheres of influence. It's one of the most important. So for the 7 spheres of influence, we have the family, we have family religion, education, we have finance and business, we have religion, we have arts and entertainment, and then we have the media. 7 of them, very important. So we began to talk about the family being the foundation, because every and any other person who would get into other spheres of influence comes from the family. So whatever we have in the family is what makes up the community, is what makes up Nigeria as a whole. So we are talking about the steps we can take to raise our family, build our family to be people who imbibe these 7 core values that we have enshrined in our 1999 constitution. So we were at number 3, the third thing that as parents, as a family, we must do to imbibe these core values. And what number 3 is to encourage conversations about these values. Now, while we went on the break, something came to mind. I remember when I was much younger, most of the times my dad likes to talk to us. Wherever we find ourselves, those times would call it, when it is a personal conversation, one-on-one, we'll call it personal discipleship class. We humorously, we just named it that. Then whenever it's all of our siblings together, we'll call it general discipleship class. My dad, he would always speak to us. Whenever he had the chance, you just know that he's going to talk to you. And can I tell you, from that time till now, some of the things he had told me, some of the things he had told us, he said it so much that it was etched into my DNA. It was etched into my being, that no matter where I found myself, you hardly would influence me to get into foolish behavior. No, because
you know where you're coming from.
Exactly. My dad has taken the time to put that thing inside of us. So that is what we're talking about now. We should encourage having those kinds of conversation. And in having those conversations, we can teach our children or family members, just give them examples of real life scenarios, the places where they can apply these core values and what they stand to gain from it. You see that now. We can also tell them, give them examples of role models who have imbibed these core values over the years, and what they are where they are doing exploits, what they are doing already. When we teach them this, the children or the young people who are growing up would see themselves in those models. One of the most efficient way of bringing about transformation in the life of a person is tying it to a reference, tying it to a role model. So when we are having conversations about these core values, and then you begin to speak to your younger ones or your family members about people who have imbibed these core values and where they have gotten to, they will see themselves in, and they will be more encouraged to stick to it, because
it is not impossible, because someone has done it. Someone has lived that value. Someone has imbibed that value and has walked the talk. I like the fact that you are saying that encouraging conversations on values could be one of those ways that we could see the Nigeria of our dreams, because there are times that some people have been bashed for basically wanting to have conversations around this. You know, even in our public spaces, for instance, maybe in a bus where, for instance, I'm trying to give an example. Yes, there was a video that was trending at some point, not even just a video. I've seen people make videos where they go to the bank and then they are ranting about how money has been taken away from, or maybe sometimes at the airport. Yes, at the airport, when maybe there are some discrepancies and passengers are not being cleared on time, maybe they miss their flight eventually, or the time that they're supposed to get through with their flight, it's delaying whatever it is that they are going to or planning to travel to go and do. And then you see people trying to make up a case, which ordinarily they are trying to exercise their rights because something is going on wrong and they need to correct that. But you see that other people will just be on the side. Why are you trying to make a scene, or why are you trying to say the right thing should be done? You will see that you look different. Even in public, try to say it now. I'm not saying that there are no good people. There are, but if you try to say do the right thing, especially in public service, the moment you are trying to be different, it's like you are trying to be like the holier than thou kind of person. This is Nigeria now. It's not government money. You inflate this one, inflate that one, and before you know it, every other person is inflating, and that is how it has continued to grow like a cankerworm that has eaten deeply into the fibers of our nation. So I like the fact that you are saying we should normalize having these conversations about values. People shouldn't be ashamed to uphold these values in public or even talk about them, because when we want to see a country that would work for everyone, it starts with all of us. Yes, because when we say the leaders, it is still the people that we are. As we are here, we might be opportune one day to become the president, vice president, governor. It can happen, chief of staff. You'll be in a position to make those very tough political decisions that could stir the tidings of this country around. So it all depends on the values that you hold as a person and how far you can go with those values. But when we don't normalize conversations around this whole thing of values, you will always look like an alien. You're bringing something different into the system.
What you have said is profound. Power necessarily doesn't corrupt. Power is an avenue to amplify your values.
Yes, as a person.
Yes. Whatever you are as let's say as a follower, you will be when you become a leader.
Yes.
Whatever you are as a citizen, you will be when you get into government and power.
Yes.
You see, so most of the people we are complaining about today who are in government, they didn't suddenly change when they got into government. No, they were always like that. It's just that government
they needed something to project.
Exactly. Government now give them a platform to show what you are made of. You see that is what power does. That is what money even does. Any sort of influential position, that is what it does. It gives you the platform to show what you have inside of you. So it is very important that we imbibe these values, because when we imbibe these values, it is like I was saying, it is now etched into your DNA. Whatever you are doing shows these values in it. You see that?
Yes.
You can't behave past your mentality. You can't behave past your ideologies. You can't behave past your mindset. It is what is inside of you that you give out. You see, it is what is inside of you that you give out. So no matter the position you find yourself, if these values are not in you, you won't give it out. But if these values are in you, you will give it out. You were talking about civil service and all of that.
Yes.
It is what is inside of you that hand and the pen you are using to inflate whatever you are inflating is a slave to the mind, is a slave to the values inside of you. So if the values inside of you says, dear hand, I insist that you put the right figures, don't inflate this, it will put the right figures. You see that? So it is the values that is inside of us that we give out. So it is very important that in a family we have these conversations, we teach, we speak. And most times another thing that would help us is this: we as a people, we must try as much as possible to have results. To have results in these values that we claim to have.
It's not just about holding them.
You see, marketing, in marketing for example, you can't market, it will be difficult for you to market a product that does not work. Very difficult. One of the best ways to market is to market a product that works. When that product works, it will market itself because it will have results. So some of us who claim to have these values, we must work with these values so much that it begins to produce results. When it produces results, all arguments will end. For example, when you go out in the society and you tell a person, sir, do you know you can be self-reliant? Let me tell you my story. In 1999, in 2024, I listened to somebody on radio on Eagles FM, and the person was talking about being self-reliant, and I actually thought to myself and said, there is actually something in me. I have potentials in me. Let me actually start this business. Let me do this thing. I have this skill. Because the person was self-reliant, the person started doing this business, and 5 years later, look at me now. I have a business that is worth millions of dollars. You see, this person has results. When he comes on radio, when he goes anywhere and tells a person, sir, you can be self-reliant,
there will be evidence to back it up.
Evidence to back it up. You see that? So that is one of the most powerful ways of spreading this gospel of core values. If we have results, those arguments people are having, civil service, wherever let's have the result. For example, when you see somebody in civil service, now I am not in civil service, but just to give an example, someone in civil service who is self-reliant, who is competent, who is a person of integrity, who is doing so well, over time that person must be rewarded. A dear friend of ours who came, one of the volunteers who came to the radio station some time ago, he came and he was telling us a story about a minister. One of the ministers, he had a program somewhere where he was talking to some young and aspiring politicians. He was telling them a story of his life, that there was one time he had this friend who embezzled funds and all of that, and wanted him to join in that embezzlement, and he refused to do that and went his way. Later on, that person was arrested, and he just continued with being a person of integrity, and over time he was promoted. Now he's a person of great power and influence. So when he's now telling young people, do you think they will believe him or not? Or do you think they will listen to what he's saying or not?
They will, because there is result.
Yes, you see that.
Result driven evidence.
Ah, my God.
Result driven evidence. Yes, because you could have evidence and it might not yield results.
You see that.
But when you have evidence that is result driven, it's likely to motivate the other Nigerian or the other person to know that, yes, if I imbibe this certain value as a person, I would make that change that I can in my country.
Very important. So we must have these conversations. We must encourage having these conversations in our families,
and that's what we are doing here too, because we are family.
exactly. Very important. So I would give the next point.
Yes, please.
The next point now, how we can imbibe these values in our families, is to recognize and reinforce positive behaviors. Now, what does this mean? This means that in a family, when a person does right, we should praise it. When a person does well, we should praise it. When a person, anybody who is following what we are teaching, who is already showing examples of following these 7 core values in our family, we should encourage the person.
Yes.
We should praise the person for that. You see that now. For example, a practical example could be giving rewards. For example, let's say if you tell your child to go and read your book for so time, and the child respects that, reads their book, really studies their book over that time, you see that you're trying to build discipline in the life of that child. So when that child is done with that, you can give the child a stipend, or give the child a privilege. Now you can go and watch TV for so time.
Yes.
You see, you are encouraging that behavior. You see, so we have to, as much as possible and as little or as big as possible, encourage anybody who is trying their best to follow these 7 core values in our families. Or for example, anybody who maybe does not follow it, we have the responsibility of correcting and guiding them in love.
Realigning them to path.
Yes, correcting and guiding them in love. So it is a two-way thing now, just to bring balance, so we don't despise the ones who are not following. No.
Yes.
The ones who, for example, make a mistake or does not follow, we must correct and guide them in love. And those who follow, what we should do is to encourage them by giving them privileges, by giving them stipends, just to encourage them.
Okay, I think I like the fact that you're saying we should reinforce positive behavior, and the fact that you said that we should correct in love. There is a mistake that parents make, have been making over time.
Yeah.
The words they speak to their children. Sometimes I know that some of these children could be very stubborn, do things that, yes, as a parent you might be provoked. But I believe in the power of words. Whatever you say to a child has a very significant way of molding that child. For instance, your child is stubborn. Fine, we admit that. But you're speaking things to them like, I know how you're going to end. Criminal. Oh, see your mate. Do they have two heads? You are not speaking positive things into that child. I know that it is not easy. I have not parented anyone, but from what I see, and for the fact that I have younger siblings, and for the fact that I have been privileged to at least be in a spot where I teach other people, I know that whatever you say to someone would determine how that person would. Yes, because the child is vulnerable. The child is at their vulnerable stage where whatever it is that you're saying to them has a way of making them. Because some children, maybe they might have not have turned out badly if the parents were more positive. You're telling the child that, oh, see the way you are. Don't you see those other guys now on computer beats? That is the way you will go now. That is you have already concluded the child's destiny. So what is he going to do now? He'll be more emboldened. He or she will be more emboldened to say, okay, my parents have already concluded, so let me go ahead and be what they want me to be. And the moment they realize that whatever it is they want to be is in their hands, they will take that opportunity that you have given to them, maybe consciously or unconsciously, to go become that vice in the society. So I think that I like the fact, rather, that you are saying that what we say to our children, or how we encourage or reinforce the good things they do, or even correct the bad things that they might be doing, would determine how they will go. And this in turn will reflect in our society. So everything you've said here is pointing to the fact that our family is like a mirror. Whatever is happening is what will show to the society that we want to see. Because you cannot have someone being a criminal at home and then you expect that when they come out, there will be someone different. Your child has consistently been taking meat from the pot. You don't say much, you don't correct them. Your child has been taking your money, you don't say anything. He's going to, want to pick pockets when he goes out. In school, he wants to bully his peers. He wants to bully his classmates. So what you are failing to correct at home, or maybe correct in the right way, because some parents are correcting but correcting in the wrong way. So everything that we must do, it has to be in proportion. Yes.
Very important. Very important. You see, every human being you see today is a compendium of choices. Every human being and the results they have today is a compendium of choices, and the choices that they make is as a result of the mindset that they have. And the mindset that they have is as a result of the information they have gathered from their environment, from when they were young till date. So if a parent is not intentional about the words they speak to their children, that has a large and strong ability to influence their mind. I was listening to something yesterday, and a woman was giving an example of some years ago. So her younger sibling was wedding, was going to wed. So a young makeup artist came to the house just to make the bride up and all of that. So when they were done, the woman now came in, was trying to move everybody to go to church, that it's time for the wedding and all of that. So the young makeup artist came to her and wanted to make her up. Then she said that no, that she doesn't make up and all of that. She doesn't like makeup and all of that. She just draws all of these things ladies draw on their face and then go where she wants to go to. Now, with that, she wasn't even being rude, or she was just telling the person the truth. Now, she now said years later, she went for a conference, and after speaking at the conference, she now came, somebody now called her that someone else wanted to see her, a couple wanted to see her. Then when that couple came, it turned out that it was that lady who years ago wanted to make her up, and she refused. Now, the husband told her that how his wife wants to tell her something. So the wife now started speaking, telling her that encounter that they had that time, that from then till now, it has affected her. It has affected her personality. She's so timid. It has affected her ability to do a lot of things that she thought the reason why she refused her to make her up then was because she wasn't good enough. And after she had that, she was so broken. She said from that day she made an intentional decision to be intentional with people. Anybody she meets, she's going to be very intentional, because it is whatever she does has the ability to influence that person.
Yes,
you can be doing something and not have bad intentions, you see, but what it means to another person is something else. So you have to be intentional how you communicate whatever you're. So she made that decision from that day that whoever she comes across, she's going to try as much as possible to communicate positively to that person. And that is what we are trying to say now, that parents should try as much as possible to communicate positively to their children, because whatever you tell them, whatever words you tell them, however you act towards them has a great influence over their life. I was giving you my own example. My parents, my parents were very intentional about us and our family. I come from a very responsible family, very intentional. The words they speak, how they teach, how they try to communicate. My mom always, even till now, would always show me love. However it is, have you eaten this one? And sometimes you want to, oh, mommy, I'm grown up now. She wouldn't care about all of that. She's very positive with her communication. You see that now. So that has helped me. Now, can I tell you this, Cassandra?
Yes, please.
When I have my own children, how do you think I'm going to communicate?
You're going to communicate with them the same way your parents did, and you will back that up with the evidence that whatever it is they said turned out positively on you, because you are a living evidence of whatever it is that they did when you were a child.
Because you see, I received love from them, I received counsel from them, and you cannot give what you don't have. The society we see today and what people give in the society is what they have received. They cannot give what they do not have. So this is very important. In our communication, in our speakings, in our dealings as a family, we must communicate positively. The people who do wrong, we correct them in love, and the people who do right, we encourage them.
It's always like an engaging conversation with you, because we always have a way of trying to unravel these things, be very practical, and I do not know another practical way to explore this issue, because we have not just been theoretical, we have been very practical, taking it back to our homes and even from our experiences as individuals, and to lay it side by side with real life examples. So there is so much to learn every time we have you here on the show, and thank you so much once again for doing us the honor of coming to give us a part of what you have inside of you. It is not easy to render this service, and we do not take this for granted.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you very much.
All right, dear, there you have it. There is so much that we need to do in our homes. For the Nigeria that we want to see, it begins from our homes. How are you handling parenting? How are you handling being a child at home? How are you receiving the guidance your parents are giving to you? It's another thing to believe in Nigeria. It's another thing to work towards a positive Nigeria. And I must tell you that looking at the conversation today, it really begins with us. And what do we need to do? We need to start from home, the very foundation of our beings, our citizens. So before we go out there, we must have something to offer at home, something positively. And like we have spoken today, it's about having result-driven evidence to back whatever it is that we say we want to preach or give to Nigeria. We must be an example of what we are preaching. So I'm hoping that you would be an example wherever you find yourself, because being an example is much more better than just do not practice. Thank you very much for listening to us today on the National Core Values segment. You have been listening to Mr. Innocent Obasi of the Generation for Societal Change. Yes, he is a representative and he is here again to speak to us, and he has spoken to us well, and I hope that you would listen and also take all of this together. Together we will definitely thrive and survive as a nation. Thank you so much for listening. Bye for now.